What's up, guys? I know I said I wasn't going to make a habit of doing this, but I got to be honest with you. I really enjoyed doing it this way the last time. This is great. I can do cardio for such longer periods of time when my brain is engaged. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me. I don't know how long I'm going to keep doing it this way, but I'm juggling stuff and I'm making it work. So sorry. Are you ready for the TWINDEMIC? TWINDEMIC, guys. It's TWINDEMIC season. Flu season. The flu's coming. Are you scared? Are you freaking out at the idea of two viruses circulating at the same time? Oh my God. What are we gonna do? Well, I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna live our lives like it's not the end of the world, okay? Because it's not. Guys, I love all the way the media and the politicians are pushing this flu season and the flu shot. Like, we have to be really freaking scared right now. Like, this is the first time the world has ever dealt with two viruses at the same time. If you were to analyze your body and all the things you come into contact with every day, 2 is a very low number. Okay, you're going to be engaging with germs of all kinds every single day. Your body is built for this, okay? You're built to tolerate that. And as long as you're treating yourself and your family in a healthy way with proper nutrition, exercise, all the things we've talked about to keep your immune system strong, you don't need to fear this, okay? It's the flu. Hello? We've done this every year for our entire lives, okay? So we're going to talk about flu. We're going to talk about the flu shot. And, we're going to get into some things about vaccines. I have not spent a whole lot of time talking about this stuff. We're going to start a little bit now. I'll never get this all in one video, but we'll start with the flu shot and see where it goes. So let's get it. So let me start off by saying I'm not going to be getting a flu shot, okay? This is me. I'm just telling you what's up. I am not telling you what to do. What you do is your business, okay? I'm very consistent on this. You're in control of your life. You can have a conversation with your doctor about your health and your circumstance and decide what you want to do, okay? I'm not going to be doing it. I'm going to talk a little bit about why. I haven't had a flu shot. I don't even know how long it's been. Okay, I don't get it. I don't need it. Okay? Now, that might be different for you. For other people out there, fine. Up to you. Okay? There are lots of things you can do that are actually very similar to a lot of things you can do in the fight against COVID-19. Okay? The idea is to boost your immune system. And I've done a video on what supplements you can take, and a lot of that applies, okay? You can be in control of your own life and your own health. Now, this is obviously not for everybody. There are some people who have comorbidities, maybe autoimmune disease, and they have different circumstances, okay? It's not as easy as just saying be healthy, okay? Because they are vulnerable. They're always going to be more vulnerable. That doesn't mean that the flu shot is the way to go to protect these people, okay? You may feel like it is. That's up to you. You do what you want to do. But there's definitely an argument to be made that getting your flu shot might make things worse, okay? Might make you more susceptible to getting sick. And look, I don't have to even go into deep with this. I will, okay? But you know this. If you get the flu shot, or if you know people who get the flu shot, you know what happens. I know this, okay? I've dealt with people for years and years, okay? As a personal trainer, as a supplement store manager, Dealing with people and their health, something I've been doing for a very long time. Okay? And I see this sort of stuff. I'll give you an example. I know a friend of mine. She is very, very fit, strong, healthy, very smart. Okay, someone who I've trained in the past. She gets her flu shot every year. This is a healthy person. And if she didn't get it for 1 year or even for consecutive years, I bet she would have a better result. Okay, this is a healthy person. Every year she gets a flu shot, she gets sick. I know because I train her. Okay, and I see, or I used to train her. And it's like, it blows my mind how often this can happen to somebody and they don't get it. And they will, when your mind is made up, right, you'll find every excuse in the book why something happened. And you just won't acknowledge of what's really going on, okay? You know this. You've seen this in people. You see it all the time. If you're somebody who doesn't get the flu shot, it's probably because you don't get sick when you don't get it. Or you've gotten it before and it didn't help, did it? Can the flu shot give you the flu? No, it can't. Okay. So I have seen a lot of debate happen over this flu shot. And that is truly a common misunderstanding. The flu shots will not give you the flu. You're not getting a live virus in that flu shot. Okay, so you will not get the flu from the flu shot. But that doesn't mean that you won't get sick from the flu shot. Okay, and in all likelihood, you are. And that is what's happening. When you see people getting a flu shot and getting sick, it's because there's stuff in that flu shot that's not good for you. Okay, people don't like to talk about it, or they don't have a clue. Okay, there are ingredients in vaccines that are not safe. You're gonna have to find a way for me to get into all that in a organized way. Okay, but I'll try to focus here on the flu shot today. So I've got a clip I want to play. It's from The Truth About Vaccines, which is a docu-series that I highly recommend you watch. If you haven't seen it, buy it, download it, whatever. Get your hands on it, watch it. Okay? So I'm going to play you a clip by Dr. Larry Palevsky, who talks a little bit about what happens when you get a flu shot.
Your opinion of flu shot?
Well, it makes no sense. And here's why. Number one, the virus most likely to cause the flu illness is rarely an influenza virus. The incidence of actual influenza virus illness is very, very low. Most illnesses that lead to flu-like symptoms are not caused by the influenza virus. The vaccine itself is toxic. When people say they got the vaccine and got the flu anyway, no, they got poisoned. And the body's response to being poisoned is to get sick, to remove the poisons, because you were injected with poisons. For those people who don't get sick after the flu vaccine, the materials stay inside. Or if they're lucky, they'll just excrete them out without being affected.
The first thing I want to address about this clip is a couple quotes. Okay, I'm going to re-quote him here. So he says, the virus most likely to cause the flu illness is rarely an influenza virus. He also says most illnesses that lead to flu-like symptoms are not caused by the influenza virus. So what is he talking about here? I want to talk about this because, it's funny. Most people, I think, are already, as is, at least before this year, not all that worried about flu. Okay, flu is something that we deal with every season. Maybe half the population opts into the vaccine and the other half chooses not to even get it. That's how not concerned people tend to be when it comes to the flu. And rightfully so. The flu is something that we see every year, and for the most part, people can get through it. Okay. But what he's saying here is really interesting, and I think that it's something that needs to be highlighted, okay? Because I don't know that most people even have an idea of how dangerous the flu actually is, okay? We talk about the numbers, okay? So in the States, we talk about, 50, 60,000, people dying every year, 80,000 as high as 80,000 on a bad year, okay? And so, you've heard me talk about COVID-19 and compare it to the flu. And so, I'll circle back to that, okay? But those numbers that you're hearing about how many people die by the flu, those numbers are not accurate. They're inflated. Does this sound familiar? They inflate those numbers because this is the playbook that they've been using since forever, okay? Play up the fear and get people to take the vaccine, okay? Now, how well has it worked? Not that well. I mean, you have people get the flu shot every year, but for the most part, I think overall, this has never been something that's been overly scary to people. Maybe a little more so now. People are buying into fear. They don't want to admit it, but they are. But the truth is that when you look at deaths by flu, it turns out that most of those deaths are actually not by flu.
So where did the CDC get the 36,000?
They make it up.
Recently, the CDC changed the 36,000 flu deaths per year figure and instead says that the death toll ranges from 3,300 to 49,000. One of the statistical issues is that the CDC places deaths from pneumonia along with deaths from the flu into the same category. On the CDC website, we see 55,220 deaths from influenza and pneumonia. When I open up the source document, which is the National Vital Statistics Reports, there's a breakout of deaths, and we see that only 4,605 of the 55,000 deaths were actually attributable to the flu. This was actually a very high number of influenza deaths compared to previous years where flu deaths were as low as 500 in 2010.
So I went and did the same thing here and went to CDC, pulled up the numbers for 2018. That was the most recent one that I could pull up. And incidentally, 2018 is known for being one of the worst influenza seasons in recent memory, okay? So here we have at the top, you can see mortality, and it does exactly what Ty Bollinger said in Truth About Vaccines. Okay, they lump it together, influenza and pneumonia deaths, and then you have number of deaths, 59,120. Okay, and they even go so far as to tell you the cause of death rank 8. So this is one of the highest. It's in the top 10, right, in the country. But if you go down just a little bit, you see that then they give you the actual numbers of influenza, okay, of just influenza. And those numbers are 11,000, which is higher than the example that was given by Ty Bollinger, right? Because this is more recent. That video was a few years old, okay? But even 11,000, this is again, I said, the worst influenza season in recent memory in a while, okay? And this is the real number. The real number is 11,164. But when you Google U.S. yearly flu deaths, the first thing that comes up is a number between 12,000 and 61,000 deaths annually since 2010. Okay, so I just showed you that in 2018, which is the worst season we've had for flu in the decade, that the number was 11,000. That was the worst one. Okay, so it just goes to show you that numbers are inflated, and these guys do go out of their way to kind of manipulate the data and how they present it to you to make things look worse than they actually are. So does any of this sound familiar? Different virus, same playbook. Now you might remember this report coming out back on August 29th, 2020. This report kind of rocked the world when we had this week, CDC quietly updated COVID-19 numbers. Only 9,210 Americans died from COVID-19 alone. Rest had different other serious illnesses. For 6% of the deaths, COVID-19 was the only cause mentioned. So then, of course, you'll remember that immediately following that, all the news and the fact checkers just went nuts and were like, oh my God, we got to do some damage control on this. So they all come out and say, that's false and blah, 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 they're lying. So, which is what they do. Okay, and I'll address that in a second. Okay, but first, let me talk about this. So I was especially excited about the whole timing of this whole thing that came out August 29th about the COVID deaths, because literally days before, less than a week before this, I had done a video where I specifically discussed how inflated the deaths were. And I cited this article from all the way back in March of this year. Okay, back then, Italy was kind of the center of attention. Everything was really crazy over there, and they had been studying the COVID deaths over there. And this is what they found. The way in which we code deaths in our country is very generous, in the sense that all the people who die in hospitals with the coronavirus are deemed to be dying of the coronavirus. On reevaluation by the National Institute of Health, only 12% of death certificates have shown a direct causality from coronavirus, while 88% of patients who have died have at least one premorbidity. Many had 2 or 3. So, August 29th, that report about the CDC's numbers was made public. But about 5 days before that, I posted a video that sounded like this. In Italy, obviously the news never told you any of this. They don't cover this. They don't talk about it. So Italy went back and looked at all of their deaths. They decided, after looking through all the actual information, that only about 12% of those deaths were actually because of COVID-19. If we apply that statistic to what's going on in the States, the official count in the United States is 177,000. If we were to take 12% of that death count now, death by COVID, is 21,000. Fine, let's double it, okay? Just to give them the benefit of the doubt. That number becomes 42,000. So as you can see, my numbers that I used based off of Italy's numbers were even higher than what that particular report said, and truthfully probably more accurate. Okay, by the way, that 12% didn't come from nowhere. Okay, it came from the National Institute of Health. That is the organization that's run by your favorite doctor, Dr. Tony Fauci. Okay, so look, this is his stuff. In the CDC's report of the United States, they determined only 6% of Americans who died with COVID-19 died because of COVID-19. Only 6%. So that's half of what Italy's estimates were, okay? Now, when I did my estimate, I used the 12%, but I also doubled it, okay? Just to give the benefit of the doubt. And I'll tell you why I did that, okay? Because, in all fairness, it's not fair to say that only the people who only had COVID-19 count. It's not, right? Even those who had comorbidities, you have to at least accept the possibility that some percentage of those were killed legitimately by this virus, even if they had comorbidities. Probably not a huge percentage of them. I doubled the number to be extremely generous. Okay, it's probably much lower than the high end of that estimate. Okay, so if we apply that logic to the United States numbers, at the time of 177,000, at 6%, they estimated 9,000. Okay, if you double that, just to be on the safe side, That's 18, 19,000, okay? So the true number at the time of 177,000 is probably somewhere in between 9 and 18,000, okay? Probably closer to the 9,000, but probably somewhere in between there. Okay, so this is the same playbook as the flu. Okay, this is what they do. They inflate the numbers, and we know. There's no disputing this. Okay, the CDC has been very transparent. Robert Redfield, director of the CDC, has admitted that they most likely are inflating the numbers. Dr. Deborah Birx, who we used to see with Tony Fauci and President Donald Trump at all the daily press briefings, also was very transparent, openly, publicly, that they're being, I believe the exact words were, taking a very liberal approach to coding the deaths, okay? So we have to take that into consideration, guys, okay? We're talking about two illnesses. I mean, among others, there's all kinds of things happening out there, okay? But these two are the ones that the news are focusing on, trying to give you all the fear. It's the twindemic, right? Flu, COVID-19. I don't care what the news says. I don't care what the fake numbers tell you. This is what the real numbers are, okay? So, yes, that's people who died. It's tragic. Respect the virus. Take care of your body. Take care of your health, okay? But there's no reason to panic. You might have seen some numbers, reports popping up lately about flu and how it appears to have practically disappeared. Okay, here's a tweet by Dr. David Samadi saying flu cases are down 98% across the globe. He goes on, last year in the 40th week of the year, there were 1,251 cases of the flu. This, I believe, is United States numbers now. This year, in the same week of the year, there were only 61 reported cases of the flu. This is from the CDC. Draw your own conclusions. Okay, so it is curious that flu seems to be so low, right? Here we've been getting media fear porn telling us the twindemic's coming, right? Flu and COVID, and that we should be afraid that this combination is going to just murder everybody, right? But here, so far, we're seeing very, very little flu compared to what we're used to. So what's going on? I pulled a screenshot of some of the top comments in response to these tweets, okay? Because I thought they were really interesting. And how, so, earlier in this video, I told you, once people have their mind made up about something, there appears to be no amount of reason or data or science that can convince them, okay? And here's a great example of that. Here's this Paul Romero saying, because of social distancing and mask wearing, not because of any other conspiracy theory you might be trying to promote among your readers, okay? And then this other one, right below, moderate social distancing and mask use is keeping the flu at bay. SARS-CoV-2 is far more infectious and requires far more stringent social distancing and mask use than what is currently happening. Okay, look, this is garbage, okay, guys? This is BS. Come on, let's be real. You can't have this both ways, okay? You cannot have social distancing and masking and having the cases of COVID soaring higher than ever before and continue to tell me that masks and social distancing work, and then have flu with these ridiculously low numbers and tell me that masks and social distancing are doing it. You can't have it both ways. Either they're working or they're not. They're not going to magically destroy one virus and increase the other one. You can't do this. Okay, but this is what people do. Okay? Now look, if you're not convinced, have a look at this. Okay, so here's an article in the Daily Mail that was written on October 24th. Okay, listen to this. In the southern hemisphere, where the flu season happens during our summer months, the WHO data suggests it never took off at all. So understand that, like in the southern hemisphere, like Australia, for example, they get the flu before us, okay? And a lot of times we can sort of predict how our flu season is going to go maybe not perfectly, but we can have an idea of how our flu season is going to go based on what theirs went through. Okay, so it goes on. In Australia, just 14 positive flu cases were reported in April, compared with 367 during the same month in 2019, a 96% drop. By June, usually the peak of the flu season, there were none. In fact, Australia has not reported a positive case to the World Health Organization since July. In Chile, just 12 cases of flu were detected between April and October. There were nearly 7,000 during the same period in 2019. So what happened to the flu, guys? The flu did not go away, and the coronavirus did not eat it up. Okay? It has to do with the fact that they're not reporting things accurately, and we've talked about this before. Okay, everything is coronavirus. Everything is coronavirus. Every death is coronavirus. Every case is coronavirus. Every illness is coronavirus. Everything. Okay, and we have to face the facts that we're not being given true, accurate data. And why would they not give us true, accurate data? Because they want the data to support an agenda. It's as simple as that. And lastly, if you haven't seen this, I'll show this to you. This is right off the CDC website, okay? And it says, due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, this system will suspend data collection for the 2021 influenza season. Data for previous seasons available, okay? So what is this, okay? We're going to stop collecting flu data. We're just going to stop. You're the CDC. We have people whose job it is to collect data so that we can have data, so we can analyze data, and so we can understand things better. We're just going to stop doing that. Okay? I don't know what to say to that, okay? You might want to call people who question these things conspiracy theorists. It's a reasonable question. Why are the numbers of flu almost non-existent? And why is the CDC telling us that they're going to suspend data collection for this? Okay, something's up. So that's it. I'm going to cut that here. I have a little bit more that I want to talk about this flu COVID twindemic. Okay, so I'm going to get into more, but I'm going to have to break this up into a few parts. Okay, so this will be it for today. Stay tuned. The rest will be coming soon. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that and want to see more, hit that like button and feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you think. This content can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and BitChute. So please follow, subscribe, and turn post notifications on so that you know when the next post drops. Thanks, and see you soon.